welcome to Family Movie Night, where we'll be talking about what we watch for Family Movie Night. My name is Mike, and today we are talking about Scoob, which is the 2020 reboot of the Scooby-Doo franchise and Warner Brothers' attempt to start a Hanna-Barbera universe, which I thought could have been really cool. But they unfortunately released this movie at the worst possible time because this was a movie that was released right around the time that COVID really started to get bad. So they ended up, this just didn't go anywhere, unfortunately. But the premise of this is Scooby and the gang face their most challenging mystery ever, a plot to unleash the ghost dog Cerberus upon the world. As they race to stop the dogpocalypse, the gang discovers that Scooby has an epic destiny greater than anyone ever imagined. So, starring in this is some interesting new faces for some of the individuals for your main crew. So, Shaggy is voiced by Will Forte, Fred is voiced by Zac Efron, Amanda Seyfried, Daphne and Gina Rodriguez as Velma. You've got younger versions of all the kids as well. So, like McKenna Grace, Ariana Greenblatt, and Pierce Gagnon. So you've got a lot of those. But then you also have some interesting choices as well, because you've got Blue Falcon in here, voiced by Mark Wahlberg, Dick Dastardly, who I remember him from the like Hanna-Barbera racing cartoons. I don't know why that one specifically. You've got Ken Jeong as Dynamut, Tracy Morgan as Captain Caveman, Fred Welker is coming back for Scooby Doo, so that's definitely a plus for that because he is, an integral part to the Scooby Doo lore and the Scooby Doo history as well. So let's start with this. If this had come out, at an appropriate time where potentially more and more people could have seen this, uh, I still think I'd give this like a thumbs like middle or so. And I think the reason why is because it's trying really hard to set up a lot of different things and it's not focusing enough on Scooby-Doo and the characters. Now, your main problem that you're going to run into with this as well is that this plot is ridiculous because the ending in particular, kind of just has Scooby-Doo as somewhat part of like a royal lineage from for dogs, which fine, okay, whatever, no big deal. But just the way that that's used, it kind of undercuts the relationship that Scooby and Shaggy have with one another in order to give a good plot twist because that is the crux of this story is the relationship between Scooby-Doo and Shaggy and how they eventually as a tandem get connected with Fred, Daphne, and Velma. So just kind of seeing that origin and seeing that relationship build up, I thought was really cool. How they incorporate a lot of these other Hanna-Barbera characters was really great as well, but it is just a lot. And I think where I kind of drew the line and was like, this is way too much is when it got to like the Captain Caveman piece because I think the inclusion of Blue Falcon, Dynamut, and even Dee Dee Skies as well, who's played by Kiersey Clemens, those three included in here brought like a much more elevated element. Jason Isaacs bringing Dick Dastardly to life, that's just a whole other side of him that I didn't think he could really do. And the animation overall is fine, but I think this is trying to set up and establish this new world and how they're trying to make all of this stuff with Hanna-Barbera characters fit and flow together. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like DC a little bit and what they're trying to do. And they're trying to just incorporate all these characters in pretty early in the hopes that a lot of people are just going to understand who these characters are and why they're so important when you connect them together. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people who are going to understand who these characters are. Whatever, no big deal. But then you've got a lot of people out there who are not going to know who any of these characters are, and that sucks. And I know that's something that my oldest daughter was like, I don't understand who any of these characters are, but I'm having fun with it. And that's, I think, the key demographic that they needed to hit on. And I just think, unfortunately, that this coming out in 2020, right as the pandemic was starting to like kick off, just kind of stinks for that. I don't see a whole lot of scenarios where this kind of makes it beyond, just an attempt to establish this as an attempt to establish this as like a shared universe that could have some like higher reaching implications moving forward. But I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately. This also was very funny. I enjoyed it quite a bit. There is a scene where Shaggy is playing a bunch of lonely songs and he plays Show Me the Show Me the Meaning of Being Lonely by the Backstreet Boys, and my daughter loved it. I think just the jokes and the voice work in this are pretty great. It doesn't get like incredibly scary or anything like that, but it does get a little intense at times. So for just a word of caution to all those people out there who are like, I'm not sure if I want to watch this. Like, there are times where it gets a little intense. So overall, the I think the key takeaways from this is that, I learned like who some of these other Hanna-Barbera characters are, and just a casual reminder as a fan of a lot of the Hanna-Barbera characters before that there's a lot to love with this group, and Shaggy and Scooby, their relationship is just the key to all of this. I didn't think that wanting to know more about their relationship mattered a whole lot at the end of the day, but it did, surprisingly. And I think Warner Brothers is just leaving a lot on the table, especially from an animation standpoint, because the more that we can get from these like animated shared universes, the more like kids get involved. Nintendo's starting to do that now, so I think it's not too late for the Hanna-Barbera universe to make a comeback, because I know for me, just introducing this to like a newer group of kids who don't get to watch this consistently on cable or anything like that, like I did as a kid. It's the same thing like with Looney Tunes as well. Anytime that I go to Six Flags with my kids, they're like, I don't know who any of these characters are. So it kind of breaks my heart, but I think it's something that Warner Brothers should try to invest a little bit more time in, but you and I both know that they're never going to do that. So those are my thoughts on Scoob. What did you think? Did you think that this was a fun attempt to, expand this universe and to, bring more people to Scooby-Doo lore, or is this one that just fell through the cracks because of COVID? Let me know in the comments below. That's going to do it for this episode of Family Movie Night. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to Anything and Everything SPDM Crew wherever you get your podcast. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website at .com. Follow us on Letterboxd at MLHilty2452 and follow our list labeled Family Movie Night. Shout out to High Flyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. Check out the other shows on the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network. We've got a lot of great content. Really proud of the work that everyone's doing. So please check out the other shows on the network. And finally, if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM Crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, happy watching, friends.